Well, again, we have a series of George Mason University presenters. They're great, as you can see. And I was a professor for 14 years at George Washington and University of Texas. And I feel that the professors who are teaching online courses, they really love online. And they will share with you many of the issues that I talk about in my book with Octagon model. And so please know that some of them will stay for lunch. You can spend more time. Their presentations, I'm copying on my computer, will make it available to NCEL, mcquidden.com/NCEL. All right, right now, we are pressed on time a little bit because I wanted to have all of them really. I wanted to have more George Mason faculty to get in there. So this is what we get so far. Inshallah, in future, we'll have more. If I take it to a program at Harvard, we have a Harvard professor coming too, but this is the opportunity for George Mason this year. So now I would like to present to you Dr. Catherine Tompkins. Dr. Tompkins is the Director of Undergraduate Social Work Program at George Mason University. Her current research involves working in kinship care, especially working to understand the long-term care, giving relationships between grandparents and grandchildren. As the director of the undergraduate social work program, she has worked to bring technology into the curriculum by taking the lead with online learning. Within the department, she did that. She is currently teaching a graduate research course online and has experience teaching several other undergraduate online courses. And one of the courses, Global Perspective on Human Rights. Currently, all of the online courses in social work have been asynchronous, though some are being developed now as hybrid or blended courses. Here I give you Dr. Catherine Tompkins.
Okay, well, thank you very much for having me. I'm very excited to be here, and I'm very excited about online education. I don't think I've been at it quite as long as Dr. Douglas there, so I was taking notes. I'm going to go get my avatar, and I'm very excited about that. But I am very passionate about it for lots of reasons. So I also tried to follow your framework as much as possible. So I'm going to try to talk about it within that framework. So I started with the audience, and I'm going to actually show you some of my course, like Dr. Douglas did as well. So George Mason is transitioning into the Blackboard 9.1. The class I'm going to show you today, though, is in the CE8. So I'm going to stick there for the class, and I'm going to show you the Global Perspectives on Human Rights course as I get started on that. So that's the course I put online this summer. So I taught it during our first summer session here, which is 5 weeks long. So what I'm struggling with is, what courses best fit under different models. So we generally have the semester model here, which is about 15 weeks. And so that has been a little easier for me to fit courses within the online framework within. This was okay, but it was difficult. The other thing I struggled with is capping the courses to a certain number, because one thing we are trying to do in social work is really get the 30,000 students who are here on campus to know what social work is. So I oftentimes go out on the quad and with my little social work sign and my table, and students will come up to me and say, oh, this is where I can do my volunteer work. I'm like, oh, no, we're a professional degree on campus. So we at the undergraduate level are constantly struggling to get those freshmen and sophomores to understand who we are and what we can provide for them. At the graduate level, a lot of folks know social work because they've been in the psychology classes here, and they are exposed to social work there, or at least theoretically, some of the concepts there. So we don't have as much of an issue as recruiting folks at the graduate level. So I'm constantly out there trying to get the audience. So to cap a course at 20, 25, which is very comfortable, more comfortable in an online environment than 37, is difficult for me. So not lots of other people, but difficult for me as a program director because I don't want to turn anybody away. So this course had very few social work students in it, maybe a handful. But we had students from the business school in this course, you know, from psychology, sociology. You expect those students. We had econ students, we had art majors, music majors, all kinds of students in this course. They were attracted to the topic of human rights.
This was like an elective course for them?
It was. It's a 100 level course, so they can take it as a general education requirement. And that's what many of them did. Lots of seniors who were about to graduate who just needed that one last 3-credit course jumped on board with us. So it was great fun for me to expose students to the social work perspective. So I'm struggling with when to turn them away because 37 students for 5 weeks in an online class was very difficult to maintain. We were able to bring on a TA, which helped tremendously in terms of managing the content, which I'll talk about that a little later. So the audience for me in terms of you know, those kinds of issues is something that I personally am struggling with and our department is struggling with as a whole. So when we've offered the same exact course face-to-face in the past, the most we've had in there is 14 students. So this summer we had 37 students. So you can see that students on this campus, and there were some students outside of the campus as well, but students generally are hungry for online courses. So they're just looking for online courses. They're not necessarily looking for social work courses or nursing courses. They're looking for online courses, especially in the summer, I would say. So, so that is a balance that we are learning, or trying to, in the process of trying to figure out how to meet. You know, ideally we would just offer another section, right? You'd offer 2 online sections and have 2 instructors. It would be more manageable, but when resources are limited, it's difficult to do that. So the goal of offering this particular course online is, again, to reach students who may be interested in this topic, but would not think to study the issues from a social work perspective. Again, because this is a 100 level course, so many students at that level don't understand what social work is all about, no matter how hard we are trying. Okay. So I'm going to go into the course in just a minute and show you some of these materials. But this is a piece of the learning strategies that I am working with. So about a week before the course starts, I send several documents out so students will know before the class actually gets going, you know, some of the models that we are going to be using, some of the rules of online education. So give me 1 second, see if I can jump into my course. Pull it up, there it is.
Keep going next to the start button.
Maybe see?
One
Oh,
more.
here.
Blackboard.
There we go. So I have several courses on here. And we have, in our department right now, we are trying to get all of our foundation courses, a section of all of our foundation courses online. So foundation meaning all of the courses, all undergraduate social workers have to take, except our methods courses, because just like online education isn't for every student, it's also not for every faculty person. And there's a lot of faculty in social work across the country as well as in our own department who really believe that you have to have students, you know, close by geographically to monitor them in the field. So social work is a professional degree here on campus, so we have students working in agencies, you know, all over Fairfax and, you know, a little beyond in both directions as well, but still close enough where we can drive our car out to their agencies and check on them. And a lot of faculty still feel like that's imperative to the social work model. I don't necessarily disagree with that, but I do think that there's ways that you can still have that and have an online program. So we, you know, we make compromises along the way. So at George Mason, I'm not certain that the whole program will ever be online, but I think it's nice to at least have those courses that they may be able to take where they're working, can fit it into their schedule better online as much as possible. Okay, so here I'm going to first show you the content under Getting Started. And these are, so all these documents here, except for the video, I send out as email attachments to everybody who's registered for the course a week or so prior to it starting. Some students come in at the last minute, so they may not see these documents until they get onto the course, which is fine. But I think, whatever they can see ahead of time is nice. So this learning support agreement is probably going to be hard for you to see here, but I'll just talk about it a little bit. It always does hit one. It always does this to me the first time. Try it again. I always teach my kids patience, but I find that I don't have much patience when I'm waiting for things to come up online. There we go. Okay, so this is a document that's very wordy here, but what I do is I ask students to read it and agree to it, and then send me an email back saying that they do agree to it. So what it does is really help them to understand that they're going to be pretty much working independently. I'm absolutely online as much as possible. I feed them the resources that they need to have to get the content that meet the objectives of the course, but they need to understand that it's way different than a face-to-face class. So this spells it out to them, as much as possible. I tell them what online environment we are using. So it's C6 is what I have here. What I will provide them, what I have been providing them, the operating systems that they should have access to, what works best with this environment, Internet Explorer versus Firefox, those kinds of things. And then different places they can go here at George Mason. They don't have to physically go, but they can click on and get support. So if they don't know anything about this environment of CE6, they can go and learn about them. How to log in, those kinds of issues. So I try to give them as much information as possible, how they can access me. I tell them that I will respond to them within 24 hours. I try to do it sooner than that, but that is what I tell them. Within a 24-hour period, I will respond to them. I tell them, even though they are independent, the expectation of them to participate in the discussions, in the blogs, I'll show you some of that in just a minute as well, is imperative to their course grade. It's part of participation in the class. And Charlene mentioned this as well, and I will show you in just a minute, but when you go on to the discussion section of any of the classes I do, there's a section called the water cooler. And the water cooler is, I tell students, I try to explain to them that it's like what you do before and after a face-to-face class. So it's where you can have your little chats like, hey, meet me at the Johnson Center after class. Like they can do all that kind of stuff in the water pool or post their pictures, you know, tell us what they did over the summer, those kinds of things. So that's like the informal before and after class chatty place. Then there's the technical part of our discussion board where they have technical questions. I ask them to post them there because I do tell them that many of them have a lot of technical skills that they may be able to answer each other's questions faster than myself. So for example, a lot of students have Macs and I don't have a Mac. So sometimes if a student is struggling because their system is a Mac and I put something, you know, from like Word, from a more of an IBM model, another student has already figured out how to address that. So the time it takes me to figure it out, then another student has already answered the question. Which I really like, thank you. So that's why I asked them to post it there on the discussion versus sending me an email because it works out, usually it works out better that way. And I have some information about the technical service, or I'm sorry, the technical support there. I tell them that they will be able to, for the courses that I teach, remember it's undergraduate education, so what I've been trying to do more of is have at least 2 weeks up at a time. Now for this summer session, there's only 5 weeks, so I just put 1 week up at a time. But for the class that I'm teaching now, the graduate class, I let them go 2 weeks at a time. If they would like, I find that most students still are just meeting the weekly deadlines, you know, at the very end, at the deadline. But some students at least like to see what's ahead for them. And for 2 weeks, so I try to get things posted 2 weeks ahead. This again with a summer course. So again, I ask them to read this document and then to send me an email that they have read it and agreed to it, so that we both are kind of on the same page with, you know, the basics of online learning. There's another document that I send, which I call the welcome document, and I tweak it a bit for each online class that I teach, but I pretty much send the same thing out. So you can see,
I might try and student view.
Oh, there it is. Click go.
where is it?
No, up there on that line.
That's just where I am here. So on the welcome document, maybe I'll be patient for a minute. On the welcome document, the thing that I have on there that I really like and I think is helpful, it's called Ask 3 Then Me. So what I try to get students to do is, instead of getting 37 emails, you know, about I can't open this document, you know, or something to that effect, I try to get them to problem solve with other folks in the class or to go through the tech support.
What do you call that?
It's called Ask 3 Then Me. Yes, and so I explain, you know, what all that is. And if you're interested in any of these documents just to see, I can always send those electronically to you as well. Okay, so Adobe Presenter, and Charlene, Dr. Douglas explained that. Oh, let's see. How did you do this before?
Oh, you have to have
Either
a.
mic,
The mic.
either speaker.
Keep talking, I'll do it.
Okay, so this, see, remember, I'm relatively new at this, and I did this at home, so it's not very good, but I wanted the students to get, you know, just to see my face, and they see my picture in various places throughout the class, but I tried to do, this is the only video that I did. We actually have a very nice resource here on campus, where I have brought guest speakers in, and they very professionally videotape the guest speakers. And so all the students can see it, but I oftentimes decide to do this at the last minute and haven't scheduled myself at the studio here. So I have a video camera and a mic at home that I just sometimes quickly put it together. I didn't do a very good job.
How long is this presentation? How long?
The video piece is only 5 minutes long.
And what's the purpose out of it? I mean,
Of this video?
Yeah.
To welcome them to the course.
Okay.
So I'm just welcoming them. I'm summarizing some of those documents I sent out to them. You know, don't forget to talk to each other.
So how about the lectures? Do you lecture them through also video?
I do voiceover lecture, like Dr. Douglas said, I do a lot of voiceover PowerPoints. So I use Adobe Presenter, and then I do the voiceover PowerPoint. I did one lecture where I did my video, and it was a little less than 15 minutes long, but I find that the students, they don't watch you anyway, like they're doing something else and they're listening to you.
That's why
So this, for me, it takes me a while to do this video part. So I find that, I mean, they like this. They like to see half my face on there, one time for 5 minutes. But in terms of what they get out of it, I think the voiceover does the same thing for the lectures. You know, it is great to be able, like I love the guest speakers. So
okay, so just a couple of things.
for the introduction,
One piece that is important to pay attention to.
Kathy, the whole course is online?
the whole course is online.
So
asynchronous.
is that what they call it, distance learning,
Mhm.
rather than e-learning, or it's a combination of
No,
both?
they mean the same thing.
They mean the
same
same
thing. This is learning, e-learning, same thing. Hybrid is different,
It is a
but-
Word document.
Yes.
And we have posted it for each
So,
week.
asynchronous, in terms of what I've been doing,
A layout for each.
the students don't have to be online at all. So Charlene was telling you that sometimes she has it where,
Logs it through and then discussion.
sorry, you're listening to my voice.
What have you. So please be sure to pay.
Thank you. Your little things are helping mine.
Just one question. This is Adobe Presenter,
Presenter.
not Connect. Is that how you said Connect?
No, Adobe Connect is how you, it's a meeting, it's a synchronous learning thing.
But this particular piece was made with Presenter.
Presenter.
Yes.
Adobe Presenter.
You can embed video.
Is that free or not?
No.
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 No,
Oh,
it's
no.
not free. I mean, there's a great academic discount, but it's not free. And somebody before had asked about like the size of files, so video files, audio files. When you use Adobe Presenter, I have a very techie husband who always helps me with these things, but you can save it as a certain quality, and that quality will depend on how big the file size is. So I can't remember the name of the quality that I always use, but it's like a medium level of what Adobe allows, and it works just fine. And it's not as big as if you saved it at a higher quality. Somebody else have a question? Okay. So I'm going to go back. Okay. So before the course starts, I send those documents out. So the learning support agreement, the welcome video, I usually don't send to them, I just put it online, so when they're able to get online, they can see the welcome video. The welcome document, and then also, what I wanted to show you is the rubrics. So each week, I have the students go to the discussion board, and they can get to it in various places. But like Charlene, I have a pretty detailed rubric. And I don't know, I think it is a patient thing. So each week I do have a discussion question. So for this, but for the summer class, this 5-week class, I had 2 discussion questions each week that I grade. And so the rubric is very detailed, just like Dr. Douglas's, where they can, figure out how many points they'll get if they respond to 2 other students. How many points they'll get if they use outside resources. So in social work, we're really trying to teach students this concept of evidence-based practice. So you can have opinions, but you need to support those opinions with what other people are saying out there. So I try to get them, even in the discussion questions, to have those other resources that they bring in. So the discussion questions, I use the discussion board really to validate that the students are doing the readings that we ask them to do. Because when you walk into a face-to-face classroom, you can look around and you can say, so how many of you did your readings? And when people look down or have this embarrassed look, you're like, no, you didn't do your readings. But online it's harder to get that feel, at least for me. So I use those discussion questions to really make sure that the students are doing the reading. So let's see if we can just jump over there instead of waiting for the Word documents. Okay. So the discussions I have down here. And as you can see, so for the first week of the summer course, we said, please provide a thoughtful answer to the following question. What is the connection between social work and human rights? And so when you click on here, you can see, the way it's set up now, because the course is over, you can see how all the students in the class and their responses to that question, and then I grade that question based on, I think the rubric is a 16-point scale. I also, for this course, had a blog section. And for this course, I actually graded the blogs. So now the blogs differ. So this is human rights. So I really wanted, some of the topics are like genocide, are difficult to think about topics. So the blogs are more of a place where students could reflect and do some thinking on their own about some of these issues via these exercises that we created. Or some of them that we found online, some of that we created. What I have learned just from the summer to the fall, like going to some trainings, is that the whole concept of a blog, I decided not, when I use the blog, that I wouldn't grade that. So this semester I have a section in this advanced research class. So social workers who want to help folks don't often like this whole research thing. So for the blog, I check in with the students to really get them to tell me what they're thinking or what they're struggling with personally with these research concepts, so I can have a feel of, is it anxiety as to why they're not doing so well, or is it really that they don't get what an independent variable is, right? So I count the blog as participation credit, but I don't grade it. I grade the discussions. So that's just how I try to differentiate between those two, but I really, it's a requirement that the students participate in both the discussions and the blogs. For this particular course, and I'm going to not show you the Word document because they're taking so long to come up, but for
Kathy,
this,
can you
yes.
please, let's go to week 2. And
Week 2.
just
okay.
can you please read to us, what's, or pick up any week, just.
Okay, so week 2, please complete the Exploring Oppression activity worksheet found under the week 2 assignment folder. Then post your response to the following question. What are some actions that everyone can take to lessen oppression and promote justice and equality? Then post your comments, responses to 2 other students' blogs.
So that's from you to them.
This is what I'm asking them to do as a requirement of the course.
And this is the replies, 86.
Right, so 86 messages. So then you go into...
That's the response of the students?
So here, since I like this one not better here, here you can see all the responses. So I'll just scroll down so you can kind of see, get an idea. Remember, there were 37 students in this class, so you can read everything that they said.
So you read and respond?
Did I respond?
You read these messages and respond?
Yes, I do read them all. See what I was saying? That's a lot. Yes, and for this class, I did grade all the blogs and the discussion questions, and I had an assistant. I had a teaching assistant, so a student at the graduate level. This was an undergraduate course. So I had a student at the graduate level work with me. Like we graded a lot of the same blogs together. We made sure we were kind of doing it similarly, and then she took half and I took half. To grade, because there is a lot. There is a lot. But it's so fascinating. So now you have all these students' responses here. And human rights and these kinds of discussions are really interesting to see with students from all disciplines. So remember, most of these students were social work majors. So we really have a lot of good content here. Another faculty person in the Department of Social Work, Dennis Ritchie, is really interested in human rights. I mean, that's what he's all about, his research. He travels all over the world. So we got permission from these students early on. They signed consent forms that we could do content analyses of their responses. So we're going to have some research that we got out of this data too. So I think this is a huge benefit of online education, is that everything is right here. So for folks who aren't very organized, being one of them, it's very nice to not to have 37 pieces of paper, to have everything kind of right here that you can go through. I think that's a strength, at least from my perspective. So I'm going to go back to the presentation, wherever that went to. There it is. Okay, so the syllabus too, so like Charlene, I have a very detailed syllabus that I put online for this particular course. I actually had broken it down for each day. So we had like the week, but then I gave them suggestions, if I was them, what I would do each day to keep up with this 5-week course. So I find that undergraduate students have a hard time with summer courses anyway, because they take, most faculty take this 15-week course and do the same thing in 5 weeks, even though we try to do faculty development and say you should tweak it a bit so it's not the same exact course because it's really hard to do. But generally that's not the case. So for this course, I really tried to give them suggestions on what to do each and every day to keep up. And just tell me when to stop because I lost it. You are telling me to stop. Okay. Okay. Let's see. We'll talk about that. So under each folder, so that I had it set up where I had week 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, I start off with a document called This Week in Human Rights, so they can see everything they're doing for the week. And again, for each day, under each week I have, I do want to show you this. I have, so if we look at week 1 here. So you see the This Week in Human Rights document, the readings include, lots of sources that I found on the internet that they can go through, assignments that they have to do, the PowerPoint that I've done for them for the week, and that any articles that I have put on reserve here, but I have also posted them so that it's easy for them to get to electronically. So each week looks very similar to this, where they click on the different items here to see what they need to do for the week. Let's see, what else is important to go through. So again at George Mason, we do have access to technical support. sometimes if we're using software that the university doesn't use, then it's harder to get the support. But generally, I find the support to be good here on campus. So I do the same as that Dr. Charlene talked about in terms of accessibility, trying to give them the content, in this 2-week time frame. So like a face-to-face class, I have various ways of evaluating the students online. I give them tests, I give them exams. And both the CE6 environment and the new Blackboard environment that we're using has relatively user-friendly, it's a learning curve there, but ways to put up an exam. And you can set it up so the computer knows what the right answer is, and it can grade it, those kinds of things. So I do give the students, I usually give them 24 hours to take an exam that I have up there. And then the students also have the chance to evaluate the course. So the university has a specific online evaluation for the online courses. And I really try I put it right on the home page, the link, once the link becomes available, so that the students know where to go to evaluate the course, because it's real important that we keep constantly checking in with the students to see how they're liking this online environment.
Do they do exam at distance, or is their exam center?
They just click on the link like they would a reading and take the exam. They can take it wherever they are.
How can you make sure they are there, your students?
That they're there by themselves and not getting help. And so that's a great question. So it's really how, I can't be positive that they're not getting help from somebody else, or 2 students are doing it together, even though I asked them not to do that. But I design it so it really has to come from them. Like, I do my best to design it so that it has to come from them. But that's a great question, because you don't know for sure. In the face-to-face classroom, you can walk around and those kinds of things. But
You mean it's written, not multiple choice?
both. I have some multiple choice, because when you have 37 students in an online class, it's easier to do multiple choice. But again, I think I have enough other ways to assess where the exam is only one piece. I have the module PowerPoint for this class, I had a module PowerPoint presentation, so it had to, I have enough other methods of evaluating their content.
How much the mark for this?
I'm sorry,
How much is it?
it's the same as the face-to-face class, so
It would be like 60 or 40% of the grade.
What percentage is your quiz?
what percentage is my quiz? I'm sorry, my quizzes are 20%, I think, for this class.
What?
It weighs so much.
So that's true, it is.
It might change the student sheet or something, or get help from another.
Yeah, I guess I'm just naive in that way, and I hope for the best. But that's a
Do
good.
you think it's a good idea to bring them in one day for the exam?
See, and let me just. This is an ethical question, because for me, if you're doing an asynchronous class, right, a class where students can be anywhere in the world. So this, we have some military folks who are overseas. Let's say, a social work student, her husband is overseas and she is with him, but she wants to keep up with the course. So she's somewhere out, way far away, can't come in to take an exam. So ethically, I try to really make sure with this asynchronous model that if I'm giving an opportunity to one student, all the students have to be able to potentially do that same thing. So if I let some students come in to take the exam,